And so in this document, please, you can download it, and the next one is the answer. So please don't look at the answer packet yet. I should have hidden that one from you. But we're gonna look at this one and spend a few minutes talking about before we get into small groups where we will. I'll ask you to. Whoops. I'll ask you to kind of create some rules. Okay. If you didn't find yours, you can look on my screen here, and we're just going to talk about this. In the classroom, I do this activity a little bit differently, but since we're online, I'm just going to go through some of the different answers at the tops. How many of you have heard about this grammar structure called direct speech? In the participants, you can click on yes if you've heard it, or you can just give me the reaction, yeah, I know about direct speech. I've studied this before. So I'm curious if this is going to be new grammar for some or a review. Sarah, I'm glad you've heard about it. Diego's learned about this one before. New for Vidya. New for a few people. Okay. All right. So again, if you know about direct speech, please be patient, as it is new for some people. And if there's something else that you would like to say, please don't be shy. You can raise your hand and jump in. Okay. So most commonly, we call, when we want to talk about in writing how we show someone is speaking, we call it direct speech. But there's another name. Does anyone who's studied this before know what the other name is? Very good. Yeah. So if you want to Google it, you can look up quoted speech. And that's the other name for direct speech. And then I mentioned why we use it. When in writing do we use direct speech? When we want to write what? Anyone have a guess here?
Is it the same that reported speech?
No, we'll talk about that in a minute. Reported speech is a little bit different. So there is direct speech and quoted speech, and then they are different. So not equal to reported speech. And that one is called indirect speech. And for this writing assignment and for this grammar point, I want to focus on quoted speech or direct speech, because I just want to take it step by step. And reported speech or indirect speech, it can get pretty complicated because we have to change verb tenses a lot when we do indirect speech. And so for this writing assignment, since there's going to be so many things going on, I just want to focus on direct speech for now. We use it when we want to write exactly what someone said. So direct means the same words. I don't change the words at all. I don't add any words, and I don't take away words. So we use direct speech when we want to write exactly what someone else said or what someone else wrote. Okay. Here's a couple of sentences, and you'll notice these sentences are all very similar, except for one thing. What's different in each of these sentences? So there's
The
one
verb.
difference here. Go ahead, see the verb, right? And not even the verb tense, right? It's just the verb. So I'm going to read these sentences for you. Sentence A, if I'm a reader and I'm looking at the verb that the author used, I would say something like this. While they were still playing, Marie's mother said, "Marie, it's time for dinner." Um, and then sentence B might sound a little bit different, and it might sound like this. While they were still playing, Marie's mother called, "Marie, it's time for dinner." Sentence C, while they were still playing, Marie's mother shouted, "Marie, it's time for dinner." And then I still have two kids who are sleeping, so I'm not going to do sentence D or E, but each time the verb changes how I read this sentence, and in what way does it change the way that I read that sentence? Ines? The sound. Yeah, and with she said and she called and she shouted and she yelled and she screamed, the sound might be getting louder and louder and louder, and maybe even there's some more emotion. Like the first time we ask someone to do something or tell someone, we're calm, and I just say, "Hey, go wash the dishes," and then I shout, "Go wash the dishes," and then finally it's not happening, and so I scream, "Go wash the dishes!" And so volume and emotion kind of go up and up and up. Now, when we're talking, it's easy to express that, right? We express it with our face, we express it with our hands, we express it with the volume. But when we're writing, we have to express that differently if we want our reader to understand exactly what we mean. And so the way that we can do that is to use the exact words that someone said and choose the verb that expresses that feeling and that emotion. Okay, so again, it's important to use different verbs because it allows you to express different emotions. It allows you to express what the writer is thinking. It allows you to express different volumes, okay, and different ways of thinking. So, um, going on to the next page, all right, and I'm going to stop recording in a moment and give you time to think about this. And I'm actually here. Let me introduce section 5 and 6 together, okay. Um, so in section 5, I have one sentence, and it says, "We bake all our own pies," said the waitress. And there's no punctuation here. And I want you to think about 3 different ways that you might write this sentence. Okay, I want you to use the same words, but in a different word order. Actually, we're going to do this one here together, and then I'll put you in small groups for section 6, and I want you to create rules for direct speech regarding spacing, word order, where you put the comma, and where you put the period. Okay, and maybe there's some other rules there, but look at this sentence: "We bake all our own pies," said the waitress. In the chat box, um, can you punctuate that sentence with quotation marks? If you can't, that's okay. We're gonna talk about this, but since this is a review for some people, um, I put that in the chat box for you. And can anyone punctuate that with quotation marks? And there are 3 ways that we can do this one. So let's see what we're able to come up with as a class. Okay, so from that sentence, we have these examples. Oh, are you all seeing this? I didn't share it. That would help if I shared it. How about now? Okay, so let's look at these and talk about what is correct and what's incorrect about them. And let me number them so that we can kind of talk about them in a little more organized way here. Okay, so we have 12 examples. We might not go through all of them. Um, so in sentence number 1, there's one small mistake. I want you to think about it and see if you can identify it. Okay? So in sentence 1, here's my original. And I'm going to make a small correction to sentence number 1. And notice what I do here. So sentence number 1, I'm going to change from the original to this. And now sentence number 1 is perfect. Okay. Let's do the same thing with number 2 here. Number 2 looks good, although I will say, everyone, be careful about spelling. Okay. We always want to spell correctly. If it's red, that means there's going to be a spelling mistake there. Okay. And so now, watch what I'm going to do in sentence number 2. And don't forget your plural. Okay. And now sentence number 2 looks really good. Okay. Again, you guys are going to get in groups and give me rules about spacing, about quotation marks, about commas, and everything. Okay. Now, sentence number 3, the waitress must be angry because she shouted. Remember, the rule is I don't want you to change the words. Okay. I want you to use the same words. So I'm gonna continue on here. Sentence number 4, let's look at this one. This person used all of the correct words, but again, these in grammar are called quotation marks. Okay, and I'm just going to make one small change here. Oops, let me do this. I'll copy and paste this one like the others. Okay, and I'm going to make one small change here. And it looks like the period didn't copy. Okay, and now that one looks good. Wait a minute. Sorry, almost. Now it looks good. Okay. Let me see. Okay, so let me give you a couple of other examples. Okay, I'm going to take this one because the other examples that we have are pretty close, and let me make another example that's correct here. Okay. This one is also correct. And let me give you one that's a little bit unusual. So number 5 can be written in 2 different ways as well. Okay, so In these examples, and let me take out number 3 here just because I want to focus on using the same verbs, okay? So what I want you to do, I'll put this into announcements quick, okay? And I'm going to put you into small groups, and I want you to use these examples and discuss some rules in your group. And I want you to make a list of rules related to the punctuation of direct speech. Again, look at the commas, look at the quotation marks, the ones that come before and after the spoken words. Look at where the periods go. And I just want you to create a list of at least 4 rules related to direct speech, okay? I'll put those examples in announcements. Before I open up the conversation rooms, does anyone have any questions? So together, try and write out or type out a few rules. If somebody can type them in each group, that would be great, because then you can share your rules with us. And when I call you back in about 12 minutes or so, we're going to look at some of the rules that we created with this punctuation, okay? All right. Any questions or comments before we go? And Sarah, I'll change your role quick so that you can jump around and help me out.
Great that you guys get to discover these rules, because it would be really easy for Ryan to just say, hey, here's the rules for X, Y, and Z for this activity. But when you discover them, especially with grammar like this, so many studies show it stays in your brain longer. So when you're the detective finding them working together, they're going to stay in your brain a long time. And when you go to write your paper, it'll be very natural for you. So have fun. It's fun to look for them. I think it's fun to look.
Very good. Thank you, Sarah. Real quickly, everyone, those sentences are now in announcements right here. Okay, so you can copy and paste them. You can use them to help your group create rules. All right, so groups of 3 or 4, please join your room. Call you back in about 12 minutes, 13 minutes, 9:15.